What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk here, back for another video, and I know you guys are already freaking out about the title of this video. Rest assured, this is not a hate on Mike Babcock video. This isn't me just saying bad things about Babcock. This isn't a guarantee that Babcock's going to get fired. This is strictly just a discussion video. Everybody's talking about it right now. I wanted to give my thoughts out instead of tweeting them out. I wanted to make a video on it. I've said a couple things on Twitter, but I wanted to just make this video because I think it's fair that we all have an opinion. So when you're commenting down below, don't freak out. You guys don't need to argue in the comment section like lunatics. Just comment freely about what you think. You don't, like I said, you don't have to argue with each other. As long as it's an argument that's not going crazy, you guys can do whatever you want. But I think that it's fair that we can talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Mike Babcock, because this is a huge topic of discussion already. It hasn't even been 24 hours since the Toronto Maple Leafs lost to the Boston Bruins in Game 7, and this is the conversation we're already having. Do I think that Babcock's going to get fired? No. Do I think that there's a chance? Maybe. You have to keep in mind Sheldon Keefe down with the Toronto Marlies has been a guy that Dubas really likes, and a lot of NHL teams are very high on him. I think Dubas is keeping him there and telling him, listen, man, if something goes wrong here with Babcock, you're the guy, so I don't want you going anywhere. So that's probably what's going on right now. I can't, predict the future or anything like that, but I would have to imagine that Sheldon Keefe would be the guy that'd be next in line if Babcock were to get fired. Now, like I said, we're going to talk about the good and the bad in this video, because this isn't a video ripping on Mike Babcock. I'd like to start this off by saying I was very excited when Mike Babcock signed the 8-year deal with Toronto. I was totally okay with the money. I was like, bring him in. We need a guy that's going to help bring up these young guys, help, get some veteran guys over here, because Babcock's a well-known coach. He's done it before. He's a champion. He's an Olympic champion. The guy knows what he's doing, okay? Like, forget what's happened lately. Like, even with the stuff lately, you have to still give him credit. Babcock, at least to a degree, knows what he's doing. He's a good coach. He's proven it before. But, not everything is good forever. And we're, 4 years into Babcock's contract with Toronto, and things are starting to go the other way. Dubas has got a different mindset than what Babcock does, because you can see the way that certain players are used. It's just not really working. So we're going to get into everything here. Babcock also is really good with the players when it comes to their mental health. He's a mental health advocate. Like he really wants to help the players, like to clear their minds. Matthews, when Christmas was going on, I believe, he made sure that Babcock made sure that Matthews was good, take him on the road, make sure that he's not by himself during any of the holidays, anything like that. On like those long road trips, I guess. I think that's what it was. And then Matthews went with Marlowe for Christmas. So like he's always making sure that his players are okay, which is a good thing. That's what I really wanted to start this video off before I get into some bad things. Now, these are the main problems, and I wrote it all down on my computer, or typed it out on my computer here. These are the main problems that people have discussed when it comes to Babcock in the later half of this season and in the playoffs. So, number one, Frederik Andersen's load management. Now, he's started 60 games in, I believe, 3 straight seasons. I believe Cassidy, the Bruins head coach, talked about the way that Rask kind of got slowed down a little bit because they wanted to make sure he was healthy. They didn't want to play him as much, and it kind of worked out for them. Rask hasn't been perfect, but it looks like the Leafs need to let Freddie rest a little bit. And I know people are going to say, oh, McElhinney this. Don't worry, we'll get to that later on. But if it's not Garrett Sparks, you've got to find a different backup goaltender, and it has to be cheap. This is what I keep trying to tell people. It has to be a cheap goaltender, much like the Sparks contract. It has to be cheap. So that's why I'm saying they need to find something there, because Freddie needs to have some load management. But Babcock, I guess, wanted to keep starting him. It was apparent at the end of the season there that he didn't, it's not that he didn't care, but he wanted Freddie to play those games. Line combinations. He's kind of been stubborn with playing certain players together, regardless of what you guys think of William Nylander. I'll say it again and again and again. First of all, next season, Nylander and Matthews are going to be playing with each other to start the season. That's how it's going to go. when Matthews and Nylander are together, they play much better. When you seen Matthews in that little bit of a slump there at the end of the season, and then Nylander came and played with them, he started scoring again. The points were good for both of them. Willie was getting on the board quite a bit, and it looked really good. He needs to be a little less stubborn with his line combinations. I also put here use of young forwards. I think that there was times this season where the blue line looked kind of crappy, to be honest with you, and giving minutes to guys like Marinson, even though he is a penalty killer, playing Ron Hainsey way too much, Zaitsev way too much. Like, regardless of when they had bright spots, like, you had a chance to at least see what you had in some more of your younger defensemen, and he didn't do it. Same with the forwards. There was a good mix in there, but I don't think that there was a good enough mix of some of the young presence. And again, I could take heat for that, but that's just, again, these are not all just my points. These are stuff that have been brought up, and I'm just giving my opinion. I also put here demand of veteran presence, but I honestly don't have that much of a problem with it. I know what I mean by that is playing Marleau too much, which I definitely disagree with, playing Hainsey too much, which I definitely disagree with. So I guess I kind of can fit into this category, but I think it's always good to have veteran players on the team. So I guess I'm kind of 50-50 on that. You need veterans, but you can't overplay them. Playoff minutes, of course, this is something that happened very recently. Too many minutes for guys like Marleau, Brown, and Gauthier, especially in Game 7. You have to find better players to be on the ice when you need to win games, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Here's the other big problem, is his contract. Now, again, when he signed, I was like, this is great or whatever, but people are saying that the contract is a problem. I know that the Leafs have enough money to buy it out, whatever, and they'll be fine. They can just give him the money to go somewhere else. I don't think that they'll do it this year, but this is regarding the contract. So we're kind of out of the faults. Now let's go move into the contract, and more or less we'll get back to some of the playoff minute stuff. But for his contract, this is coming from TSN insider Pierre LeBrun. The Toronto Maple Leafs head coach Mike Babcock does not have an out clause in his 8-year contract with the team, so there's no way that he can leave, or like there's a restructuring of a contract, nothing like that. LeBron's report on Wednesday ended speculation that such a clause may exist, and he adds that Babcock remains as committed as he's always been to see things through with the Leafs and try to bring a cup to Toronto. So again, Babcock, I'm not hating on him, definitely not as a person either. So I guess that's a good quote from him. Babcock, who is 55 years old, completed the 4th year of his contract, which I said, who finished last in its first season behind the bench, and then second in the Atlantic in each of the previous 2 seasons. So he is currently the NHL's highest paid head coach with a salary of $6.25 million, which is quite a lot. So getting back to the 5-on-5 ice time, and I don't want this to be too crazy, but Dmitry Filipovich tweeted out like 16 or 17 hours ago, depending on when you're watching this, it'll be after that. But the Bruins got some pretty good luck from ice time regarding 5-on-5 play. So Tavares led with 14 minutes, Marner was 13:51, but then Zach Hyman was third with 13 minutes and 33 seconds ahead of Matthews, and Kapanen. Brown got 12 minutes and 37 seconds ahead of Janssen and Nylander, and even guys like Ennis and Moore, who were actually pretty good in the game. Freddie Gauthier got 8 minutes, which is too much in a Game 7. Marleau, again, in a Game 7, how is this guy playing 11 minutes of 5-on-5 ice time when he hasn't been very good for, like, not just the playoffs, but like 30 or 40 games now? Same thing with Connor Brown, even though I like the guy, and I like Marleau as well, but in regards to total ice time, Tavares played 20 minutes, Marner played 20 minutes, and Matthews played 18. I'm sorry, but if you're in a Game 7, those 3 guys got to be playing a ton of minutes. You need to win Game 7, regardless of if they're a -3, whatever it is. Those are your top guys, and they find the back of the net. Tavares had the only Leaf goal in the 5-1 loss. You need to play Tavares, Marner, and Matthews way more. Gauthier playing 8 minutes is a joke. Marleau playing 11 minutes is a joke. Regardless of what Nylander had anything happen with him, he played with Marleau and Brown, and I know that this is on Kadri as well, which I will be getting to that too. But he needed guys like Ennis and Moore from the start, and he waited to put them with him for like 2 shifts in the 3rd period. It was Ennis, Moore, and Nylander. You needed more of that throughout the game instead of playing Gauthier, Marleau, and Brown. It was not working. So that was not good. It just does not make sense. And he also added, Dmitry Filipovic added that that's a die or die game where you were trailing since the first period and had the only 2 power plays all night. If you lose and go down swinging with your best, that's one thing. But this, and those are all the numbers. Like, it doesn't make sense. Here's another interesting statistic that I wasn't sure of. Adam Gretz tweeted out, Mike Babcock coach team has not finished higher than 3rd place in its division since the 2010-2011 season. He's only been out of round 1 once since that season, and 0 since 2012-2013. And now, as of now, 27 different NHL coaches have won a playoff series since he has. Time to call this for what it is, which is kind of unfortunate, but let me just bring up some other things because I don't want to blame everything on Babcock. Nazem Kadri, that suspension screwed the Leafs over for line juggling a little bit. Now, was there better ways to put those lines together? Probably in Game 7 at least. But Kadri really forced Babcock's hand to have to make some decisions he probably didn't want to make. And with Kadri in the lineup, the series could have been much different. But I still think that there was ways to fit the lines better. But Kadri is a huge problem when it came to these playoffs. Nylander didn't have his best playoffs. Mitch Marner, who was pretty good in the first 2 or 3 games. Again, Mitch Marner is Mitch Marner. He's fantastic. But there was a couple times where I was like, man, like Marner's really got to score a big goal here or set up a big play, and it just didn't happen. But Marner is far from the problem. Nylander, far from the problem. Guys like Gardner, far from the problem, even though it was another giveaway. Zaitsev and Hainsey, again, not terrible, but they weren't their best either. The whole team deserves a little bit of the problem as well. You can't win games if you don't score. And I'm not blaming Matthews. I'm not blaming Marner. I'm not blaming Tavares, Riley. Like, you have to know that this is a team game and everybody contributed to the loss. Babcock definitely got outcoached, or he outcoached himself. It was a team effort, and it wasn't a good team effort. They lost. I've seen some people also getting on Kyle Dubas and saying that this is his problem. I'm just going to give you guys a quick Jeff Viette tweet here. And I know some people don't like him. I happen to like him because he just tells it how it is sometimes. All right, so people are saying that Lou Lamoriello, set this Leaf team up for success. Well, I do think that he was good as a mentor for some of the younger people in the Leafs organization, and also Kyle Dubas to show him the ropes a little bit. Lamoriello made a lot of really bad decisions as the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, like a ton. And some of them I agreed with at the time, and then a couple weeks go by and you go, oh boy, I like Lou, but do I like him too much? Did that move really make sense? And I like Lou as a person. I've met him. He's a good guy, but there were some really bad moves. Kyle Dubas did a lot for this Leafs team in a short amount of time. Okay, Tavares, Muzzin, like, come on, guys. Let me just bring this tweet for you guys. There's 2 boxes in front of you. Which one are you picking? Box number 1, John Tavares, Jake Muzzin, Trevor Moore, Tyler Ennis, Andreas Janssen, Garrett Sparks. Box number 2, Tyler Bozak, Roman Polak, Leo Komarov, Matt Martin, James Van Riemsdyk, Curtis McElhinney. You're picking box 1. It does not make sense to pick box 2. And the results of that poll show, because at the time I screenshotted it, it was 90% to 10%. Lou Lamoriello leaving is not hurting this Leafs team. Dubas is a very good GM, and he's going to do a lot more in this offseason to help this team. So, again, you guys can disagree with me. This isn't a crapping on Babcock video. This was showing the good things, the bad things, the ugly things, and these were just the reasons why I think that maybe it's time to move on, or at least make a change. The assistant coaches, the people who run the special teams, they have to be gone because they were awful in the playoffs. They've got to get another backup goalie probably just for that added insurance. Probably another piece on the blue line, but don't worry, tons of off-season videos are coming. So if you're new, make sure to subscribe. I promise you, you are going to see a ton of trade rumor videos, discussions on the Leafs, every team in the league, not just the Leafs. I know you're seeing this right now if you're not a Leafs fan. Go on my channel. I talk about all teams. Recently, it's been about the Leafs because of the playoffs, but now that the Leafs playoffs are over, tons of stuff is coming, streams, you name it, podcasts. And I'm very excited about the offseason, even though my team is out. But regardless, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 5,000 subscribers. Again, thank you very much. Thanks for a great season as well to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.